Hi guys, and welcome to part 2 of my tutorial on the Power and Conflict poetry from Literature Paper 2. In the previous tutorial we focused on annotating the poem that you're given, making sure you use that, and planning using subject, style, structure as a 3-part comparison. And thinking about really using some time at the beginning of the 45 minutes that you've got to ensure that you are really thinking carefully about some of the links you can make, and that you're utilising, in terms of AO2 skills, you're utilising that time to really consider how you can show off some skill by identifying techniques and that kind of thing. What we're going to focus on now is I've got my plan here, and I want to focus on really maximising marks now by demonstrating to you how I would go about writing some comparisons between the two poems, with that focus of the power of the natural world. Now, a structure, I can't claim that this is one of mine. I can't remember which teacher I saw this off, nicked it off someone online. But obviously lots of you will do P or even PEEEEL, but that's going to limit you to around a level 4, level 5, because once you've done that a couple of times, you're not really showing off any more skill that you can, other than you can find a technique and an example. So I like this PEEEEL structure, because I think it forces you into doing more with the text in front of you. And this is a transferable skill for all of the literature exams and for language, paper 1, question 2, 3, 4, and paper 2, question 3, 4. So a really transferable sort of skill. So point, evidence, explain, we know, but then explore, by which I mean, really zoom in on individual words, really think about the significance of a specific word. Then expand. By expand, find other examples, from the text to support what you're saying. Evaluate, we know what. Hopefully we should know what that means. It's making judgments, it's getting you to weigh up the importance or significance of something. And then peel the link back to either the message, the context, or the overall focus of your essay, but linking it back so it doesn't feel like a point that's stuck out there by itself. So, apologies today, my writing is going to be particularly wobbly because I can't find any lined paper anywhere. The joys of being a teacher. So what I'm going to do is have a think about my planning from yesterday and think about putting together a really decent AO2. Now, the subject comparison, that's going to be fairly straightforward. I think it's going to be the most straightforward part of your essay. So I'm actually going to focus today on style. I'm going to think about, looking at the writer's language and comparing how they use that. So I'm going to go straight in with, let's have a think about that semantic field of war that is used. Shall we look at, we'll look at that. So I'm going to start always with what the writer is doing. So I'm going to begin with the writer uses, it's important for us to focus on this as being something crafted. So the writer uses a semantic field, excuse me, a semantic field of war to do what? What is the purpose of that semantic field? Right, so the writer uses semantic field of war to demonstrate how violent the storm is, and to show that people feel under attack from the natural world. Okay, make sure we've got that, keep that focus on the title. So there's a sense here of the purpose. The writer uses a semantic field of war to demonstrate how violent the storm is and to show that people feel under attack from the natural world. So let's have a look at these. Blast and bombarded, some of the words we identified, and salvo and exploding there. Okay, so let's focus on bombarded and blast. Now, some of you might know that those words are plosives. So I'm going to put that extra bit of terminology in there, but don't worry if you're not sure of that. The plosives blast and bombarded. What kind of tone are they creating? What kind of image do those words create in your mind about the storm? The plosives blast and bombarded reflect, well, to me there's a lot of sound effect coming across there. The plosives blast and bombarded reflect the deafening sound of the storm. So I'm now explaining, aren't I? Going through my process here, I'm explaining. But I want to zoom in perhaps in a word, on a single word there. So the verb bombarded, what does that make you think? If you're being bombarded by something, is it happening once or multiple times? To me, that suggests it's a relentless attack. The verb bombarded suggests that nature is relentless in its attack. Okay, so I've zoomed in a little bit more, but I want to expand this even further, as I've got a couple of good examples, and I've explored, I've zoomed in, but I want to show the examiner that I can expand and find other examples. Excuse me. I've noticed that there's exploding there as well. So I'm going to merge a few of my points from my planning about the violent verbs. So I'm going to go and talk now about the violent verb exploding. Also, what does that suggest? If there's an explosion, also suggests the storm can be sudden, as an explosion would be, and to me also destructive. Okay, so the verb bombarded. I've got a lot of good detail in there. Now, I might want to bring in a bit of context here, but actually I'll leave that till my link point at the end. So I'm going to think about evaluating now. I've gone and explained and explored. I've expanded by finding other examples. And now I need to evaluate. I need to make some judgment. So this is let's go important. This is important because what is the poet doing? This is important because the poet is reinforcing, it's a nice verb to use here, the poet is reinforcing how helpless people can be in the face of extreme weather. Okay, so I've done an evaluation here. Now, I now want to link back to some of the ideas in the title and also link to context, because I haven't included context yet, in the face of extreme weather. Excuse me. This could... Now, I'm really a big fan of perhaps, possibly, and potentially, those 3 Ps. It shows a nice tentative style, like you're not just, I know all the answers here. This could potentially link to Heaney's background in Ireland, where people lived in constant fear of IRA bombs, bombs and attacks, I should have said, in Northern Ireland there, and attacks. So the war imagery, I'm going to go back to this idea of the war imagery. The war imagery is therefore poignant. It's a nice evaluative word because it reminds us not just about natural conflict, but also about human about human conflict. She's the same word. I'm not delighted with that. So I've linked back now to some ideas about a bit about context that I've brought in, and also I've linked it back to the title of the natural world. So let's just have a skim over this, see if we're happy with it. The writer uses a semantic field of war to demonstrate how violent the storm is and to show that people feel under attack from the natural world. The plosives blast and bombarded reflect the deafening sound of the storm. The verb bombarded suggests that nature is relentless in its attack. The violent verb exploding also suggests the storm can be sudden and destructive. This is important because the poet is reinforcing how helpless people can be in the face of extreme weather. This could potentially link to Heaney's background in Northern Ireland, where people lived in constant fear of IRA bombs and attacks. The war imagery is therefore poignant because it reminds us not just about natural conflict, but also about human conflict. So I've really developed my point on Storm on the Island, but I also am aware that I need to bring in now Prelude, because I am going to be marked for comparison here. So we remember from the previous tutorial that, as I told you, the only quote I could really remember was "strode after me," that it reared its head, and I know that he talked about being troubled. So we're focusing on here about the power of nature. So we need to make a link, and in our planning we talked about people. So here the sort of power of natural world is very powerful. It intimidates and can potentially damage people, can't it? So what I would be now focusing on is something around the idea of likewise in the Prelude, the poet demonstrates just how frightening nature can be. And then I'm going to go through the exact same process of PEEEEL, and I'm going to focus on the personification of "strode after me." And so in the same way, as just exactly as I've done here, I'm going to say Wordsworth uses personification to da 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 da, in the exact same way that I have done up there, and I'll use "strode after me." As I develop this, what I'll do is keep making little links and saying, you know, when we see it strode after me, it feels like the storm is coming for him and that it's after him. And this is really similar to the explosiveness here, to the bombing, to the attacking, and, you know, likewise in the same way in here, in this poem, in the Prelude, the poet, the narrator, feels really frightened and really vulnerable and helpless, and he retreats, doesn't he, and is scared by it. So what we do is, the key skill really, what I'm saying is that this PEEEEL, developing this analysis, is key. And what I would then focus on is doing the exact same with my second poem. Now I know I'm not going to have as many quotes, but what I'm going to do is try and make connections and links and say, you know, this is similar or this is different to this bit here, and explain and evaluate why. Okay, thanks for watching.